Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I admit that I wasn't a little bit more clear on the last video regarding on my thoughts on WWE's Evolution All Women's Pay-Per-View announcement here, and I give you my thoughts and sending that message to Stephanie McMahon, and I want to apologize on that here. Now, that being said, I'm starting to get things a little bit more clear here, and I'm starting to realize that it's just like the other big announcements here that WWE always keep pushing here, that always seems forced and organic here, you know, just like with their anti-bullyings, anti-this and this and that, all of this shit here that we see there week after week after week here. It got me to ask a little bit more clear and firm questions, and I also wanted to clarify on it directly towards WWE management and Stephanie McMahon as well. So here's some questions I want to ask you. Let's begin. In order to clarify, I wanted to ask not that much, but just three particular questions. Three particular hard-on questions towards WWE management and Stephanie McMahon in particular regarding this Evolution announcement here. Because let's be real about this. They always say that this is the first ever women's pay-per-view, but in WWE standards. But what they don't even know, but I can tell they're not even going to care anyway, is they had that concept before. Other promotions already had this concept before, but they don't want to bring that up because, hey, to hell with accuracies, to hell with historical accuracies. It gets in the way of the initiative that we just wanted to push, that we are the ones that were doing it first. So, without further ado, here are these three, possibly four questions. So, let's begin. Now, the first question I gotta ask to you is, why are you claiming that it's the first ever all-women's pay-per-view, when all of the other promotions outside of WWE have an all-women's pay-per-views? Hell, even a Joshi Purusu, an all-female pro wrestling promotion in Japan called the All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling Promotions, have their own pay-per-view of their own! And it was titled Wrestle Marine Pyramid. It was their female equivalent to Wrestle Kingdom. Hell, how about an all-women's, all-female promotion super show called the All-Star Dream Slam back in 1993? Yes, all three all-female pro wrestling promotions in Japan and FMW. FMW is, they do have male talent and female talent, and it's a hardcore deathmatch promotion. I'm just bringing that up here for accuracy, but you get the idea. Or how about the LPWA, the Ladies Professional Wrestling Association? The actual first all-women's pay-per-view in North America was promoted by the Ladies Professional Wrestling Association on February the 23rd, 1992. Now that is an all-women's first pay-per-view in North America. Hey, why stop there? How about TNA? Right now, as Impact Wrestling had a series of all-women's pay-per-views of their own with their division called the Knockouts here, with the Knockouts Knockdown series, which is part of the One Night Only series. And I just want to make this one thing clear, okay? TNA, right now, Impact Wrestling, started the Women's Revolution before the Women's Revolution became a term that has been used over and over again by the WWE. And don't you fucking at me, bitch! So again, back to the question here, why are you claiming that this is the first ever all-women's pay-per-view in pro wrestling history when some of the other promotions that I brought up already did all-women's pay-per-views of their own? Think about that. And the way you say, I mean, it just comes off as self-serving and just self-aggrandizing at best. It just comes off a little bit ignorant at worst, to be honest. Listen, I'm looking forward to Evolution, but I just think it just comes off as self-serving. Now, for question 2, I gotta ask you this. Why did you have to break kayfabe for the sake of the first ever and history will be made initiative? Like, I'm just saying this from a TV perspective. I mean, why did you have to bring them all in when you know that that they hate each other and they're supposed to be in kayfabe, in freaking character, and that you just brought them all in here for the sake of this announcement, this self-serving thing? I mean, like, it's no different than the announcement here, the first ever, quote-unquote, first ever all-women's Royal Rumble here. It's the same thing that we've seen this shit before, only this time Stephanie McMahon is just bringing this up over and over and over and over again for the sake of the initiative. I mean, seriously, WWE creative, WWE manager, and Stephanie, I mean, like, seriously, you don't have to pound it in all a little bit before. We already know that! Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm going to stress this out. I am looking forward to Evolution here. But the way that they say it, the way that they handled it, I mean, like, and the way that, especially with Stephanie McMahon in particular, it just comes off as fake. It just comes off as forced. It just comes off as that she's nothing more but a corporate saleswoman. All for the sake of, because she's a woman and she had to put them in there as the figurehead. Like, seriously, it's just nothing more but a corporate initiative on WWE's part, man. I gotta tell the truth! And now, last but not least, my third and final question. How are you going to plan and execute this in terms of booking the show? I mean, seriously, I'm saying this from a wrestling fan's perspective. I'm saying this to you directly. Now, it's really cool that you brought in all the brands here, for all the women from different brands here, Raw and SmackDown and NXT with their own women's titles respectively, and also to bring in the UK Women's Championship title on the line here, which is also going to be the part of the NXT UK's brand here, which is going to be starting later on this year, and also the finals of the second annual Mae Young Classic, which I'm looking forward to, by the way. The only real question here is how you're going to able to execute this in exactly 2.5 months, to be specific. And who is going to be charged of the booking here? I'm hoping that it's going to be Triple H who's going to be the chief booker in this situation here. Because I assume that if Stephanie is in charge of all of this here, this will not end well. Considering that she was being part of the creative department back in 2000. And let's just say her booking choices are kinda questionable. Like, seriously, absolutely questionable. Listen, when Triple H books in NXT, he does it with time, patience, and care. He does all of this, especially with the women's division here. That women's revolution in that bubble, it started in NXT when Paige, Emma, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bayley, the list goes on and on and on. Hell, even Asuka, in my opinion, she raised that bar so high with that 500-plus day of that NXT women's title reign. And that division is still going strong to this day. It was like seeing a beautiful rose after the seeds have been planted here in that NXT garden. And that woman within that roster, it grows and grows and it blossoms, and seeing its beauty. And the fans, that we see it, we get so mesmerized by it. Only for that rose to die out and whimper, and the beauty just being destroyed once it's moved up to the main roster. And I think that's the perfect analogy here to describe about the situation when you go up from NXT to the main roster here. Hell, even any talent that moves up from NXT to the main roster, it just breaks my heart that they become from a badass in NXT to being a complete joke in the main roster. Fucking creative. But nevertheless, I digress here. Listen here, I'm hoping that Triple H will be in charge of this here, with no meddlesome Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, and some of the jackasses that he has here with the main roster creative here. And let's see if Stephanie McMahon pulls it up, tightens up, and works with his husband to make sure that this could be successful here. But I'm not holding my breath. I mean, who knows? Maybe I've been proven otherwise, and hope it'll be a good show. Hopefully. But I still have my doubts here. It's a double-edged sword, in my opinion. So, those are my questions here, and I hope that please comment, like, share this video to anyone that you can, and please definitely subscribe here. And I hope you share the same sentiments here on this video here. This is HGX signing out. And wait, hold on 1 minute. There's one more thing I need to bring up here. If you claim that Evolution is the WWE's first ever all-women's pay-per-view, then can you explain to me that you didn't mention that there was one particular pay-per-view, one particular network special last year that you didn't mention? Oh, I don't know, perhaps the Mae Young Classic, the inaugural Mae Young Classic, and the finals of the Mae Young Classic last year? Seriously! Like, come on, WWE, you can't be that much of an idiot. Anyway, please give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, and share this video as much as you can. This is HDX signing out. You have a good one.